Welcome, everyone. I'm Sandra Bargman. A few years ago, I wrote and performed a solo show called The Edge of Every Day, which was an exploration of the rough edges and contradictions we all face and grapple with. The show hit a nerve, and the relevance of the topic would only grow over time more than I could have foreseen. So, here we are. Real talk with real people, sharing stories and perspectives that spark provocative invitations to leap out of what's safe, on the edge of every day. Thanks for listening. Hello, everyone. We are live in the hive. Thank you for joining me on this, the 41st episode of The Edge of Every Day here on TalkRadio.NYC. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, and for those of you who don't know me yet, I encourage you to check out my bio on TalkRadio.NYC, or, of course, you can visit my website, sandrabargman.com. And please tune in to any of my previous episodes with my inspiring guests. As all my loyal listeners know, this show is about celebrating triumphs, pushing boundaries, and exploring rough edges. Through conversations and shared stories with friends and colleagues, it's my hope that we can begin to understand our edges. And what I mean by edges is those places where we are fearful, those places where we are resistant to change, those places where paradoxes and contradictions live in our beliefs and in our understandings, both about ourselves and about the world around us. Those places where we don't want to look. Listen, we live in turbulent times, and we are coming to understand that life simply isn't black or white. It must be an embrace of both. And the more we look within, recognize our own edges, and get real about them, the more we can help others to do the same. And that, I fully believe, can help to change the world. So, thanks again for tuning in. And without further ado, it is time for me to introduce our guest this evening. Reverend Dr. Terrlyn Curry Avery, affectionately known as Rev. Dr. TLC, is a licensed psychologist, ordained minister, coach, retreat leader, TEDx speaker, author, and podcast host. She is the creator of Pastology, the cutting-edge field that focuses on the synergy between pastoring and psychology. She holds a PhD from Hofstra University and a Master's of Divinity from Yale University. Rev. Dr. TLC invites people into transformation through the journey of sacred intelligence, tapping into one's internal source in order to make intelligent choices that manifest the good of humanity. She helps leaders discover how their sphere of influence can change the status quo and dismantle racism. She is the author of Dismantling Racism, Healing Separation from the Inside Out, and Sacred Intelligence, the Essence of Sacred, Selfish, and Shared Relationships. She is the host of Dismantle Racism on TalkRadio.NYC. Rev. Dr. TLC is the pastor of Martin Luther King Jr. Community Presbyterian Church in Springfield, Massachusetts. Hello and a warm welcome, Reverend Dr. TLC.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. It is such a pleasure to have you. It's been, as I was saying in our pre-chat, it's just been such a joy to do my research on you and to listen in and to read about you and learn from you and begin to desire to purchase all of your books, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you.
Yes, totally. So I'd like to start off with how I know my guests, and I don't know Terrlyn personally, but I've known of your podcast, and I've just really been eager to listen in. and have enjoyed what I've listened to thus far. So, Terrlyn, do you like to be called Rev Dr. TLC? Let's go with that. That's what you go by on your podcast. I'm going to go with that rather than Terrlyn. So how did you come to, she's got her podcast, as I mentioned, Dismantle Racism, here on TalkRadio.NYC. So how did you find Sam, and how did you come to TalkRadio.NYC and podcasting in general? I mean, I can so understand it as a natural fit for you, given your background in education and your pastoring and your speaking. It, of course, makes sense to me that it's a complete natural fit. But then again, it would make sense for me as an actor, as a natural fit and an interfaith minister, but it wasn't for me. So speak to how you came to this and what was the spark?
So I know Sam from an organization that we belong to. And what's really interesting, Sam had asked me about a radio show probably about a year or so before I ever considered. And at the time, I was really focusing on the wounds of religion. And I have all of my work is around sacred intelligence, whether it's manifesting your greatness, it's all under the umbrella of sacred intelligence. And I didn't feel like I had something that I was ready yet to do a radio show on. I had done public access TV before, and that was around sacred intelligence. And I know people loved it. You know, I ran into people on the street who would say, "Oh, I love listening to your show." But I stopped for a bit of doing media, and there's so many other things that we do, you know, and so I was focused on really looking at the wounds of religion. And when George Floyd was murdered, I returned to doing work on dismantling racism. I had done it for years and sort of put it aside in terms of the formality of it. I'm always engaged in racial equity work.
Of course you are.
Never put it down. But in terms of just the training. So once I really started, you know, getting back out there and talking about it more, Sam said, you know, have you thought about doing a radio show about it? And that way you can broaden your message. Yeah. So I think racial equity is really important. So I started the show actually it's been over a year ago.
Wow. So you started just before I did.
I started before you did.
October. Yeah. Because of course I've heard about yours since I started. Oh, that's so fascinating. Well, and it's just, you have a fantastic show and an amazing presence. And yes, you do weave in naturally. And of course you do all of these other understandings and this tapestry of all the work that you do, your background in education, all the different hats that you've worn and pulled together to form this incredible tapestry. So this is a great segue into the question that I want to next ask you is, you know, so many of my guests like you, like me, have had these very rich and seemingly varied careers and twists and turns, and they continue to synthesize the work in really unique ways and synthesize the identities. And it all comes together into this one track, this one vision. And it speaks so much about exploring rough edges and pushing, expanding our boundaries. But those identities, those are all interesting things. So this was a question that was asked of me recently, and I was so fascinated by it. I want to ask you, what identity or identities do you lead with in your day-to-day life?
Well, first and foremost, I lead with being a soul being and being called to a higher purpose.
Amen.
That I understand that I don't exist in this world, just me, that we're all connected, right? And so I lead from that place of having grown up all my life with an understanding of God in my life and how God calls us
Yes.
And that we each have a purpose, and it may be different, but God calls us. And even if it's in the same area, it's something different. So I lead with that because that's the family that I grew up in.
Okay.
We were not fundamentalists by any stretch of the imagination, and we didn't define ourselves as born again folks in the sense of born again Christians. But I grew up Presbyterian in a predominantly African American community. It was very tight knit in the South. Church was a critical part of my upbringing. So when I do this work, whatever work that I do, it begins from this place of knowing that I am a part of a bigger universe and that I am created from divineness, which is what I talk about with sacred intelligence. So I start all of my work from that place. And then secondly, I would say growing up as an African American, I saw the disparities that existed. And I also grew up knowing how rich my heritage is. And I love who I am as a person presenting as a Black woman in this world. I love that. And I always seek to have justice in the world and equity in the world. So for me, I love that you talked about all my different hats that I wear, because everything that I've ever done, there's always been this lens of race. So that even when I'm looking at things like education and I'm teaching my classes, I can be at the college where I would teach, and I'm teaching a group of white kids, but I was always going to infuse race in there.
Of course.
To help students who had never even gone to school with a Black person,
right,
to understand how race shows up. So in everything I've done, I've just infused it in there because I think it's important so that we can understand one another.
Oh, my goodness. Well, and there's so much I want to dive into here. It sounds like you had such a healthy relationship to spirit as a child, as I did. And, while my parents, I was also raised Presbyterian, my parents, we did not have a big church life. We were very involved, and I had a time in the church, but it was through the music and the ritual that I was very attracted to it. It doesn't sound like we have a minute to break. It doesn't. So let's just begin well, actually, you know what? I'm going to say, Dylan, let's take us to break, please, because the question that I've got, I can't ask Reverend Dr. TLC to do 1 minute on it. It's too big. So we're going to just go right into break. When we come back with Reverend Dr. TLC, we're going to dive into dismantling racism. And did you have any kind of woundedness, which is in your religious upbringing, which is another portion of the work that you do in the world? When we come back on The Edge of Every Day, stay tuned.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business, or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on TalkRadio.NYC.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on TalkRadio.NYC.
Are you you on edge? Hey, we live in challenging, edgy times, so let's lean in. I'm Sandra Bargman, the host of The Edge of Every Day, which airs each Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on TalkRadio.NYC. Tune in live with me and my friends and colleagues as we share stories and perspectives about pushing boundaries and exploring our rough edges. That's The Edge of Every Day on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on TalkRadio.NYC.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Chipping around, kick my brain to the ground. These are the days it never rained, but it pours on the edge of every day. And we are back on the edge of every day with Reverend Dr. TLC. You know what? I'm gonna hold off on the woundedness, and we're gonna get into that when we speak more about your sacred intelligence, and I love that phrase. So the intersectionality of your work, which I again, just incredible to read about, and all of the offerings that you do around this. You know, what I came away with was that, as I'm always reminded of now that it's in a huge way on my radar, that racism isn't a black and brown person problem. And I think that that's been the biggest thing, or an Asian problem, or a marginalized community's problem. It's, you know, it's the oppressor's problem. It is, they need to be doing the work in addition to everyone else. This is not to say that everyone else isn't to do their work, but it comes back to sacred intelligence and this understanding all the ills of the world being this separation within from spirit, and the common unity, the community of humanity. Can you speak to that, and when you started to move into very clearly wanting to speak overtly about dismantling racism?
That's a great question. So I do believe that racism is a spiritual disease because we've disconnected from our greater selves.
Indeed.
And we're in this place where we're self-absorbed, and it's about ego, and it's about othering folks as opposed to loving folks and seeing the manifestation of the divine in everybody, however you define the divine. What I also think that we miss in this whole conversation, particularly when I think about white folks who will say, well, it's not, I don't experience racism. I'm not a racist, right? Yeah. I think that people fail to understand how racism, one, it impacts us all, whether it's positive or negative, it impacts us all, right? But there's a cost. There's a financial cost to white people if you really look at economics of racism. If you look at the housing market, who gets to own a house and who doesn't, and how that impacts the economy. There are people much more fluent than I am who talk about this, but look at it that way.
Oh, totally. And look at it in businesses.
Exactly.
The most diverse are the ones that are most productive.
Exactly.
All of my business leaders I have on say exactly that.
Yes, because you're missing out on so much talent. And when people say, oh, I can't find anybody of color to be in this position, well, where are you looking is the question, right? So it impacts us from that perspective. It impacts us when we think about even just from a mental health place, an emotional place of what white people experience when they're not connected, when they want to have a conversation, for instance, about race, but they're too afraid. And they live in that place of fear, or worse yet, shame.
Yes.
Guilt.
Oh, I have to interject here. I must. The shame and the guilt. around 2013, 14, 15, I was really noticing the increase, because it was coming on our radar, the increase, me as a white person's radar, thank you very much, of the increase what appeared to be, but it was just because it was in the news more, of police brutality. And I was noticing it in the news, all over my Facebook, all of my whole entire social media, and people getting into rages and fighting about this, and the white people taking offense at all of it, which it was exploded my mind for so many reasons, about what bubble I lived in, what New York City bubble I lived in, what white person's bubble I lived in, etc. But I was shocked at the taking of offense, and hearing you say the shame and the guilt, and the connection of that with shame and guilt, and resistance to learning about all of this, and admitting white privilege.
Well, and so all of that, right? And that's the cost. That really is the cost. The other thing that I hear white people say all the time, I just had a conversation with another white woman about this earlier today, who was really annoyed with another white woman for saying this, that like, I just can't do this work because it's too overwhelming and it's draining. And she said, it just makes me so mad, because think about what people of color
privilege.
We live it.
Yes,
right?
You get to walk away from it, white person.
But I think that even with that walking away, because once you've been awakened, when you walk away, it's still going to eat at you to close it off. We can't wait for another George Floyd, because like you said, in 2013, 14, 15, actually in 2008, 2009, when President Obama came in, it started then. I mean,
of course it did.
It
had to
all the way back. Look at Trayvon Martin and all of that. And so here's the thing: it was happening, and then all of a sudden, when George Floyd was murdered, people are like, "Oh my gosh!" But I think people paid more attention to it for two reasons. One, because we were in the midst of COVID, and we needed something else, really, from a psychological place, something else to focus our attention on, right? And people wanted to get out.
Yeah.
But the second thing is, it was so heinous.
Yeah.
And people couldn't justify it. See, I have had white people say to me, well, why didn't the police, when the police shoot someone at a stop, well, why didn't they just do what the police told them to do?
Oh my.
I'm like, are you kidding?
But we can watch that. We can watch that on video now. They did do. Right. Every single thing that they were asked.
Right. Well, one woman said it to me when the man was walking like this and got shot in the back. I said, did you see them shoot him in the back? So this is what I'm talking about waking up and deciding that you're going to live on the edge, because this is hard work, but it's necessary work. If we are going to heal our own souls, and if we're going to heal this world, we have to be willing to go to the edge.
Indeed.
And sometimes we might have to step over the edge just a little bit.
Just go right over, just fall right over, and expect that the wisdom and the knowledge and the growth will meet us.
Yes.
And the mentoring and the expansion will meet us.
You know, can I just say one other quick thing? So when George Floyd was murdered, I saw a lot of white people in turmoil, angry, crying, couldn't believe that this was happening. Whereas, and they would come to me and say, oh my gosh, if I'm feeling this way, you must be feeling blah, blah, blah. I said, I didn't just wake up Black today. I've always known this. None of this surprises me. But was I saddened by it? Of course. But here's what I want to say. If people come to the edge and they do this work every day, then when something like George Floyd happens again, the emotions that one experiences are very different. The intensity is different. And you're not reactive. You simply go into responding. So for those people who saw what happened to George Floyd, and I never watched the video, by the way, but for the people who saw it and they kept watching it over and over and over again, they would be so intense that they worked so hard that they got burnt out. Yeah. What I ask people to do in this work on dismantling racism is be consistent and steady in your commitment so that when something happens, you know how to move within the flow of that. You've already prepared yourself psychologically and emotionally, and you have your community of support.
Right. That's indeed. Well, totally. I think, and to some extent, I would put myself in this category. It's for those, and I'll speak as I'm a part of that bubble. For those of us that were in that bubble, that knew of, that were not completely unaware to all of these things, but did not, for whatever reason, did not understand the extent of it. I think all of the things that you already knew, the people waking up to it, and then George Floyd, I mean, I did also see a lot of white people go rageful. And I think it was necessary. For those of us who were in the bubble, like the childish, rageful reaction, because it is a lot of overwhelm, and it is a lot of how have I been unaware of this? How have I contributed to this? So all of those questions exploding within and that's what I want my listeners to understand, is to get with those contradictions, to explore that edge, and to stay present to that awkwardness, and be willing to ask seemingly stupid questions and seemingly obvious questions, and to understand that you are going to make mistakes, but to listen, to stop, and to listen to the people of color. Learn, listen, learn. Really lean into this in a way that you've never done before.
I just want to say I totally agree with you. There is a place for anger. And actually, I began my book by talking about that anger, because there's effective and righteous anger.
Yes.
Righteous indignation. So yes, I totally agree with you.
And how to channel that.
Yes. So that's my point in this, that if we engage in this work on a consistent basis, we'll know how to challenge that, channel that anger. But I also know, and we can look at the research now, that if we don't wake up and if we don't do the work, when something else happens, we go back into this intense way of doing things, and then we burn out. So what we see when we look at the research is that there was this really big charge that people wanted to talk about race, and now it's dipped.
Interesting. And now everyone just went, oh my God, I'm exhausted. And and because you're allowed to be exhausted. Oh my goodness. I'm going to have you back. That's very clear. I have so much that I want to ask, but we've got to go to break. And I want to come back after our glorious break, where you, the listener, get to hear about all of the fantastic shows that we have here on TalkRadio.NYC. When we come back, we're going to learn about sacred intelligence and hear about, continue to explore sacred intelligence, looking within, and how it can continue to inform how all of us work towards dismantling racism. We come back with Reverend Dr. TLC on the edge of every day. Stay tuned.
Are you passionate about the conversation around racism? Hi, I'm Reverend Dr. TLC, host of the Dismantling Racism show, which airs every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on TalkRadio.NYC. Join me and my amazing guests as we discuss ways to uncover, dismantle, and eradicate racism. That's Thursdays at 11 o'clock a.m. on TalkRadio.NYC.
Are you a small business trying to navigate the COVID-19 related employment laws? Hello, I'm Eric Sauver, employment law, business law attorney, and host of the new radio show, Employment Law Today. On my show, we'll have guests to discuss the common employment law challenges business owners are facing during these trying times. Tune in on Tuesday evenings from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time on TalkRadio.NYC.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the Nonprofit Sector Connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on TalkRadio.NYC, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on TalkRadio.NYC.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Chipping around, kick my brain to the ground. These are the days it never rained, but it pours on the edge of every day.
And we are back with Reverend Dr. TLC. So tell us about this wonderful phrase, sacred intelligence.
Well, sacred intelligence actually comes from merging my two loves, and that is, my love for God and my love for psychology, because I've always asked a million questions, and I ended up becoming a psychologist. And it's interesting because I was raised in a family where I could ask 1,000,001 questions about the Bible, and my family always tried to entertain, and they couldn't answer them, but at least they would try to entertain.
Stay present to you. I love that.
Exactly. So this term, sacred intelligence, came from a really good friend understanding my mission, what I was trying to explain to her. And when I was doing a lot of therapy, that's the name I had for my practice. Because for me, sacred intelligence is about really understanding two things: that we're loved unconditionally and we're divinely created. And within that, there's a going inward where we tap into the greatest part of ourselves, where we can make choices that are intelligent.
Yes.
And those choices are designed to manifest my greatness, while at the same time, I'm helping you and other people manifest their greatness. It's not about solely saying, oh, it's the choice that's best with me, because that's very egocentric.
Unhealthy ego.
But it's really about saying, let's go inside. So in my first book on sacred intelligence, I talked about the importance of developing that sacred relationship, connecting with something much higher than yourself, whatever that is for you. And then there's a selfish part, which is the reflection, the self-reflection, setting boundaries, learning how to say no, getting rid of unhealthy relationships, cleaning out your own psychological stuff. And then the third piece is the shared relationship. Those relationships that we have with other people, and how to create healthy ones with other people, how to help them, again, to manifest their greatness. So how does that relate then to to dismantling racism? Because that's my model, sacred, selfish, and shared. The three pillars that I talk about in my book is, what's your sacred motive for doing this work? And then how do you have to engage or shift your selfish mindset in terms of whether you believe that it's possible to dismantle racism, because it starts with a belief.
Yes.
And then what's the shared movement? Now, how do you take who you are and go out into the world and help the world to become a better place? So it's still all about the sacred, selfish, and shared. So in my book, I talk about the sacred intelligence journey of faith. And I say faith because I believe that we have to have faith that it is possible to do this. And we have to have faith in our fellow human beings.
Indeed. Because why else would we incarnate?
Exactly.
We're here to serve and do this work.
Exactly.
Signed up for this party.
Certainly we did. And that's one of the things I say in the book. I'm like, you're in the right place at the right time. You're the right body, the right socioeconomic status, all of it. You chose to be here. Not everybody can handle that. That's
understood.
So I try to be careful which settings I'm saying it in, but we're here. We're here because there's something for us to do. And no matter how small, do you know that during the civil rights movement, there were people who made sandwiches for people who were marching, or people who were photocopying because it was photocopying.
We didn't have social media to get everyone organized.
Exactly. So there were people who were doing whatever they could do to help the movement. There are people for my show who will do things for me. Sometimes I'll have people, when I have an event coming up, they'll say, oh, it's no charge to do it. That's their way of helping in the movement.
Yes.
So what I want people to understand, the consciousness around racial equity isn't about you being out in the street marching every day or every second of your mouth saying, oh, what about race? What about race? What about race? It's a lived experience where you're conscious about how inequities show up, so that you're always asking the question in your circle, who's missing?
Yes.
Who's missing in this conversation? Who's missing in my all white neighborhood? Why is it all white?
Yeah.
So that's what it's really about. And it's what I want people to understand, because folks will say, oh, it's too heavy. I can't deal with that every day. Or I don't know enough. All I want people to do is raise their awareness. Yeah. And when you know better, you do better.
Indeed. And awareness. How do people continue to raise their awareness? They listen to your podcast. They read your book. They take some of your offerings, your workshops and things. So how do you work with leaders, and how do you work with white leaders and white people, and begin to expand their understanding, their racial consciousness? I love that phrase, racial consciousness. And how do you respond to the phrase, I don't see color? How are these, all of these, I know.
You're asking me like 5 questions that would take 10 minutes to.
This is right. Exactly. This is why you have to come back.
Yes.
It's just too much.
So first and foremost, let's see. I'll tackle this one first. It's absolutely not true that you don't see color.
Of course.
How could you not see that I'm a Black woman? So to say that you don't see color is not true. What people actually mean is that I am not treating you differently based on your color. Or at least they don't think they are.
They don't think.
Because we have our bias. So there's a lot that I could talk about in there. But really, to tell me that you don't see color denies who I am.
Of course.
That that you think that I need to just blend into what is the standard that's really been based on whiteness, right? And when you say I don't see color, it's not really about honoring me and my differences.
And
so
it's not spirit-filled.
It's not. And so I hope your listeners will take that out of their vocabulary.
Indeed.
Because then you don't want to even know about me.
Yeah.
And that's why when I show up, if I speak differently, or if I dress differently, or wear my hair differently, you won't take the time to understand that some things are cultural.
Yeah.
And I'm honoring my culture by doing that. Or if, for instance, you won't know that when I walk into a room and I see a Black person that I know, and maybe sometime someone that I don't know, my tendency, I don't care if it's professional or not, we hug because that's a part of culture. But if the expectation is I don't see color, you might expect me to, come in and, I don't know, be a bit more reserved or something like that. Even though I have to say most of my friends, white friends, whoever is my friend, they know we're hugging and they're hugging too. So it doesn't matter.
You got the memo.
I'm just using that as an example.
Yes, of course.
But how do I work with folks? So there's several ways. I do one-on-one coaching with people, try to work with them through whatever their fears, whatever their unconsciousness is around race, and try to help people to see how is that showing up in your company, even with the best of intentions.
Yes.
How is it showing up? What I do in my groups, I actually go through, I have a 6-week course where we take a look at what's the cost of racism, how to get over your fear of getting it right, because that's really, really a big thing.
I would think that that's at the top of the list.
My goodness. It really is. It really is, because people are so afraid that they're going to say the wrong thing. And guess what? You are.
Yeah, exactly.
But
you have been forever.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah. And so, here's the deal. You've just come out of the closet and said, I want to change this. And so while I stumble through and learn, you're going to hold me.
Yeah. But it goes back, though, to, yes, you have been saying the wrong thing. And then people have just been silent about it. But now that you've become awakened to it, the embarrassment factor.
Yes, exactly. The mirror.
And so what I want to just say is you've got to move beyond the shame. So in the programs that I have, I try to create that safe space where people can ask questions. And sometimes we laugh together.
I would hope so.
I try. I love laughing, and I'll say, that was a silly question or something like that. But it's because I set the stage for that, where people can feel
if it's safe.
And we don't yes, and we don't judge each other. Mm-hmm. And whatever we say in the confines of that group is in that group. And in October, at the end of October, I'm doing a 2-day retreat that's a full immersion of taking a look at my book, but going into, let's do the inner work. Yeah. What does it take for you to do this work? So it moves beyond just do A, B, C, and D, because often white people will say to me, can you just tell me what to do? No, I can't. I have a class that I teach, do this, not that. And so we break down, what does that mean? Some things you just have to learn.
Oh my goodness. Oh, so much in there. So much in there. Well, we are a minute to break, so I'm just going to move forward into the break. And when we come back, I want to speak with you about something that maybe you'll comment on, that I think dismantling racism is our number one thing that we as Americans, we as humans, of course, must handle. But here in the United States, thinking about democracy, I think racism is inextricably linked to democracy, because you cannot have a democracy without an attention to diversity and attention to equity, attention to equality. You cannot have it. And we are here at the edge of that understanding, that there is no turning back from it. Everyone is too awakened to this now. And we are at the crossroads where we must begin to do this hard work in a bigger way and really begin to heal it and choose democracy and choose equality and equity and freedom for all, or we can step away from it and dig in, our heels in, and choose authoritarianism and white supremacy and the continuance of what's already been happening. So when we come back with Reverend Dr. TLC, we will get a comment on that perhaps, but we will also move into what's next, what's on your next leading edge when we come back on The Edge of Every Day. Stay tuned.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on TalkRadio.NYC, I host the program Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on TalkRadio.NYC.
In a post-COVID world, you may have many unanswered questions regarding your health. Are you looking to live a healthier lifestyle? Do you have a desire to learn more about mental health and enhance your quality of life? Or do you just want to participate in self-understanding and awareness? I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each Thursday, I will tackle these questions and work to enlighten you. Tune in every Thursday at 5 p.m. on TalkRadio.NYC, and I will be frank about health to advocate for all of us.
Calling all pet lovers.
Pet Avengers, assemble!
On the Professionals and Animal Lovers show, we believe the bond between animal lovers is incredibly strong. It mirrors that bond between pets and their owners. Through this program, we come together to learn, educate, and advocate.
Join us live every Wednesday at 2 p.m. at TalkRadio.NYC.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Chipping around, kick my brain to the ground. These are the days it never rained, but it pours on the edge of every day.
And we are back on the edge of every day with Reverend Dr. TLC. So do you have a comment for how I ended out our last bit? I mean, is there really a comment for that? It's so overwhelmingly obvious to me.
I do have a comment, and it's yes, I agree with you. And I think that what happens is people don't see the ways in which racial equity is tied into a democracy or lack thereof. And I will take abortion rights as a prime example, because I had a guest on my show who actually talked about how abortion rights were rooted in racism. And it came out of during the 60s when integration began to happen, the 50s and 60s when integration began to happen. White people took their kids out of school and they wanted to put them in private schools and or a different school. And so they couldn't get federal funding if it was about integration and
right.
All of that. But if they talked about abortion and it being a religious thing, religious freedom and all of that, they could then get money. So that's how white people were able to segregate themselves. Also, I believe, and I'm not real clear about this one, but I heard a story on another radio show around the Roe v. Wade and the particular organization that's still engaged in helping women get abortions down in Mississippi. It was an area that was highly populated by people of color and Black people, right? So when we talk about these issues, we think that they don't matter, but look at how you take away from one group, eventually it hits us all.
Oh, totally.
Because regardless of what your personal beliefs are about abortion, look at how many people are impacted by that.
Oh, completely.
And look at how many women of color are going to be impacted, low income women who are going to be impacted by this.
You better believe it. It's all about power.
A power and control for sure. And so when we say that we don't have to stand up, when you don't stand up for one group, it's going to hit home eventually.
Because we're all connected and the power is all connected.
That's right. That's right.
Ooh. Remember that, listeners, when you go to the voting booths. So, switching gears. It's funny, you brought up something we laugh a lot in our workshops, and I loved that you said that. And when I was asked the question about what identities I put forward, of course, spiritual leader was the first, but just right up there with it was comedian.
Yeah.
And the sacred power of humor, of getting us out of our own way and disarming us.
Yeah. Yes. It's so important because I think, look, and I can't speak for all white people. I can only speak about the white people who I talk to. I understand how scary this is. And I understand that people wonder, am I judging them in the moment? And that's why I have to create the space to say, this isn't about what I'm thinking. What is it that you think about yourself? Yeah. And let's move to that. Yeah. Right? I am very fortunate at this point in the work that I do. Folks are self-selected to come to me. Years ago, when I used to do this work, people were there because they had to be there. And they would sit there like this the whole time. And it was so draining. It was draining for me. People had no idea as a facilitator how emotionally draining this is for people of color. Oh, and when I'm working with people now, because it's self-selected, they know that I can be direct with them because I am also very direct. But I could be direct, but they know it's going to be all from a place of love. And I will say, I'm going to challenge you a little bit to go deeper with this. Right.
That's the time. I mean, that's real. And that's, why we need to do this work. We have to move past. Yes, it's a challenge. And yes, move forward.
That's right. But you know what? I also give people tools to help regulate themselves as well. Because that's the whole psychology part of it too, right? Like, I don't just take you to the edge and hold you
just fling them off the edge.
Like here's tools to deal with it. But sometimes you just got to be uncomfortable and just live in the discomfort. You've got to live in it. But
that holy discomfort that is polishing you.
Yes. Oh, yes, Pastor.
Indeed.
Indeed it is. So we just, I think, we have an open space and an open heart where we're there to learn and everybody just kind of connects with one another.
Amen. Amen, amen, amen. And, I want to take one of your courses too, BTW. But we'll talk about that later. So what's next for you? What's your leading edge? Do you have something that's brewing, a new thing? I mean, you just came out with Dismantle Racism. Maybe, maybe you're still in and podcasting, as we were talking about, is no tiny bit of work. So maybe you don't have, you're focusing on putting that forward and doing your work on your podcast. But is there some project that's coming down the pike for you?
Well, so I will be doing this for a bit. And so I'm doing a lot of trainings around dismantling racism, but I know we're almost at the close of the show. But one thing that I'm actually working on is the rebuild of my church, which was burned as a result of hate crime. So of course I say that at the last minute. As a psychologist, you never do that. But so I'm working on the rebuilds of that. And this shows people like, look, this is real stuff. I'm not making up racism. My church was burned down as a result of it, right? So this is why it's important to do this work.
Oh my goodness. Amen. Yeah. So how do people find you? How do people find your books?
They can find me at sacredintelligence.com. There's a link there for the book as well. There's a link there for all of the work that I do. You can contact me through the website if you want to work personally with me, if you want to have me to come into your organization. But just do the work. Find somebody to do this work with.
Oh my goodness. So, and before, well, no, I'm going to thank you first. I'm going to just say, my goodness gracious, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your sacred space, your full heart and your beauty with me and with our listeners. It has been such a joy to have you on.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Thank you.
To our listeners, thank you so much for engaging in this, listening in, going out and doing the work, going out and follow up and look and read these books and go over her website and move more deeply into this work and look more deeply within and be willing to challenge yourself. So before we say goodbye, Rev. Dr. TLC, what is a last nugget that you can leave us with?
I want to remind people that each of us has the power to change the status quo, and that the power of one contributes to the power of community.
Amen. Remember, you are always at the edge of the miraculous. Till we see each other next week, take good care.
This is our last dance. This is our last dance. This is ourselves under pressure. Under pressure. Under pressure.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on TalkRadio.NYC.
Are you on edge? Hey, we live in challenging, edgy times, so let's lean in. I'm Sandra Bargeman, the host of The Edge of Every Day, which airs each Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on TalkRadio.NYC. Tune in live with me and my friends and colleagues as we share stories and perspectives about pushing boundaries and exploring our rough edges. That's The Edge of Every Day on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on TalkRadio.NYC.
Calling all pet lovers.
Pet Avengers, assemble!
On the Professionals and Animal Lovers show, we believe the bond between animal lovers is incredibly strong. It mirrors that bond between pets and their owners. Through this program, we come together to learn, educate, and advocate.
Join us live every Wednesday at 2 p.m. at TalkRadio.NYC.
In a post-COVID world, you may have many unanswered questions regarding your health. Are you looking to live a healthier lifestyle? Do you have a desire to learn more about mental health and enhance your quality of life? Or do you just want to participate in self-understanding and awareness? I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each Thursday, I will tackle these questions and work to enlighten you. Tune in every Thursday at 5 p.m. on TalkRadio.NYC, and I will be frank about health to advocate for all of us.
passionate about the conversation around racism? Hi, I'm Reverend Dr. TLC, host of the Dismantling Racism show, which airs every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on TalkRadio.NYC. Join me and my amazing guests as we discuss ways to uncover, dismantle, and eradicate racism. That's Thursdays at 11 o'clock a.m. on TalkRadio.NYC.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.